And today, as you're accustomed, we're here to do some hands-on work around design pattern. But before we get there, talk about what we did last time. Remember this? Information encrypted on a solid state drive. That's what we were trying to do. I wanted you guys to list out entities, right? Material things, qualities, processes, information. How do you think you did?
Poorly.
Well, oh, don't be so sad.
ChatGPT did all the work.
ChatGPT did a lot of it. Weird. Let's see. Here's some examples. This looks like GPT.
Hell yes.
Let's see how it did. So remember, we are looking at information encrypted on a solid state drive. And we're talking about just listing the entities, material, quality, processes, information, etc. So what do you think? SSDs? Those involved? Hope so. I mentioned it. Encryption module. What do you think?
It seems like it made that word up.
Sounds right.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Sounds too vague.
Yeah. Is it a thing? And if it's a thing, is it a material thing? That'd be something I would want to sort out. A controller chip. Seems like a thing.
Yeah.
Of course, I'd want to look all this stuff up, right? Like, wouldn't want to trust GPT for obvious reasons. Data bus.
That's
Pretty sure that's a thing. RAM. A RAM is a material thing. All right. Is that right? Is it?
I mean, it's a material thing.
Uh-huh.
But the actual
Hmm.
memory part of that.
What an interesting thing to think through.
I'm not sure.
Key storage module. Also
that.
pretty vague, not sure. All right, qualities of these things. So storage capacity, that seems like a quality. Or does it? Or is it a measurement of something? Maybe a measurement of the quality. It's ambiguous, as many qualities are, right? Like many qualities are ambiguous between the actual thing being measured and the measurement. So, yeah.
It might be a data property of the quality, right?
That's right. And then Ryan said, well, the word capacity is kind of maybe cluing you in. You'll have to be careful about this because a lot of folks, in a lot of sciences will use the word capacity and they will mean a measurement.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
That seems like a measurement.
Yeah. And then, but at the same time, you'll see that as the target of measurements too. So, read write speed.
Yeah, but do we care?
Is it a quality? Yes, we maybe we may or may not care.
For encryption.
Is speed a quality of read write speed? Is it a quality? I'm not sure.
That is something they report.
Mm-hmm.
So it is a measurement
Mm-hmm.
that is considered to be like they always report it as just this flat number.
Sure.
And at that point, they're treating it like a quality, whether or not it's a measurement.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
Is it not a profile, or is speed in this context not a process profile?
So so that would be the thing to adjudicate, right? Like to flesh it out. At this point, I'm just evaluating on my intuition whether speed is a quality of something. Which is a thorny ontological question. Just raising some considerations as I move briskly through this. In fact, briskly enough, I'm going to jump over to process. Data encryption. Data decryption. These sounds processes. These look like processes at least, despite the lack of gerunds. Key generation, key management. All right, data transfer, integrity check, etc. And then there's information. So encrypted data, encryption keys. Yeah, error codes. Yeah. Of course, they're not exactly focusing on, and nor was I suspect the prompt aimed to, but not distinguishing between classes of things and instances of things. I think, for example, specific data codes are instances of things, not classes of things, although you are often, not you, but in general, people tend to get those confused. We'll see that more in a minute as I confuse you. How about this one? Looks like it was less driven by GPT, but we'll see. SSD, of course, computer, flash memory cells. sounds fancy. Storage capacity. Seems like some familiarity. Encrypting, storing, accessing, and then just align this as information poured by. All right, not bad. Any concerns, comments, questions?
Probably be more qualities, right?
Yeah.
Like encryption and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Cool. What about this?
It's a nice picture.
A nice picture of the desk.
Art piece.
That is.
It adds that aesthetic quality.
Yeah, I like it.
Especially the
So
little tear that
Uh-huh.
doesn't actually continue all the way.
I wonder what that means.
Something.
So we have SSD and hard drive, of course. We have the computer, wire connections. That seems important. If you want the computer to be on, store is a quality, blocks. Not sure what that means. Storage is a process, encryption, etc. So some of the usual suspects are appearing here. That's good. That's good. That's good. Cipher
I think
text.
actually that
Mhm.
quality
Mhm.
store blocks is important
Yeah.
because it points to the SSD part itself
Mhm.
as opposed to an HDD because the SSDs work in blocks. That's what they're called.
Mhm.
So that makes sense.
Okay. And the blocks are qualities.
No, that's the really hard part about the SSD
Yeah.
is because to an extent,
Mhm.
yes, they're a quality that makes them differentiated from other types of hard drives. Is that they have a quality of having blocks.
Mm. Yeah. What are we talking about? The quality or something else? All right. That's what I thought. And then this one. So I'm gonna gloss over this one because this is not just a list of things, which is what I'd ask for. A list of things. But that's okay. That's okay. We'll revisit in a second. Okay, remember this is what we were doing. It is, in fact, what we will also do today, but in a slightly different way. Here's some guidance for today's practice. You will huddle up in groups, and they will be different groups from the groups that you were in. And then somebody will advocate or you will agree on one of the lists that was discussed last time. You'll just pick one. And then you'll walk through the following process. Somebody who was part of the group where that list was generated last time, they will explain it to the others. Here's what's on the list and here's why. And then everybody else will just listen without saying anything. And then you guys will start evaluating the list as a group. So this will be good. You'll mix and match, right? Some of you, those lists were not all the same. There were some commonalities, but many dissimilarities. So huddle up. Don't let me catch you hanging out with the same people.
How are we being
What do we
integrated?
do? Yeah.
Yeah, I know, like this is, I almost didn't think this one through. Let's see, who is online? Were you guys all here last time?
I can't remember if Tim was, but I think the rest of us were.
Hmm.
I'm not. I can't be forgettable. What's going on? I was here, bro.
You might have been lower on the list. Sorry. Or
Yeah.
I didn't see your name.
Here's my ego there.
I think you were out. I don't think you were here.
It's possible. All right.
Well, let's walk through the same exercise. So somebody will advocate, that will explain, and here you guys can do something slightly different. So one of you will explain the justification for the list of the items on your list, and then the others will listen. And here's what I want the others to listen for.
Or gave us.
I want you to listen because then I want you to listen with the intent of summarizing it back to the rest of the group. So one of you who's listening will say, like, repeat, will summarize, or like just provide the same justification again. And then the second go round, I want everybody to pay attention to what that second person said that you didn't expect them to say, and look for what they didn't say that you did expect them to say. Does that make sense?
So,
In terms of comparing what they got from what the first person said. Okay.
That's right. So there'll be
Yeah.
an initial summary, follow-up summary, and then folks will be listening for two key aspects of that second summary, what was said that they didn't expect and what wasn't said that they did expect.
Oh,
Okay. So that's what
It is, but even still.
can we see that all okay? Or do I need to zoom in or?
Possible to fall in the.
That's fine on my end.
That's what I'm saying.
Did you guys do this last week? Sorry, I wasn't here last week.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Okay, so the prompt was very simple. Give me 4 lists about the following design pattern prompt, and then they should just a list of what those lists are.
Yeah.
No other qualifications, no nothing. Although I do have like my own GPT that I've fed a lot of like BFO documentation to, so so it's usually pretty good at kind of aligning things. However, I did not come up with these, so I can imagine a justification for them for you.
Should do that.
So yeah, let's see. Let me think through this. Okay, so RAM. All right.
Yes.
Since that one was kind of up in the air as a material entity. My initial thought is that it isn't a material entity, but if I was to justify it as a material entity, we could talk about it in terms of maybe signals, which I think can carry information in some way. So I think a signal, if I remember correctly, could be considered a material entity.
so random access memory in CCO,
Mhm.
subclass of computer memory, which is a subclass of digital storage device, which is
Right.
information medium artifact.
Right.
The material artifact.
Right. Okay. So it isn't in the artifact ontology,
Started at this.
Well, it's
or conforms to the artifact ontology. That's what I
conforms to,
meant.
yeah.
You said you got really into.
The rest of them, I don't know what a controller chip is, so
Right?
I'm just going to accept these two as hypothetically being things that exist and are needed in the process. Key storage module. I would argue, I mean,
Saying, oh, the bus is an expression that.
unless that is like a physical chip, I
and-
don't know. That's unclear to me. If it is a physical type of chip sort of thing, then obviously that would fit here, but I don't know how to justify that. Storage capacity, obvious quality, seems like an obvious quality to me. Read write speed.
I still don't like firmware.
Hang on, let me pull up something real quick on Protege.
It's
It's
where,
not-
and that's
that
the
is
thing, firm, but not solid and not hard.
That
And it's not soft.
That's why I think Copilot is
Is
the
that
dumbest
what
of all AI so far.
quality.
I think it's like GPT and Gemini are like back and forth tides. They're not good. They're just here. Then there's Copilot and firmware like
Dispositions of material.
What if I told you I was working on a.
Material things can have disposition.
then you better add Copilot ways. Because like I was just saying, like ChatGPT and Gemini are like here. They're not.
So yeah, I guess that one,
They're child.
read write speed,
And then you got.
does seem like it fits more with like a process profile, so like in a current as opposed to a quality. Am I? I'm kind of stuck here. Am I supposed to be like giving positive justification for why these should be this way?
Yeah.
Okay.
Fine, you're doing fine.
Yeah. Let's see. Security level. So yeah, I don't know what to say about this one. This one I guess I don't agree with as a quality.
Read write
Um,
speed.
Right.
I would give it a quality.
That software and firmware.
I have NAND flash.
Because a
It says it's the software.
speed
Or
or a process profile
Once the software.
is like the rate or pattern or amplitude of change in an attribute
Yeah.
of which, I mean, it's not like, like velocity, like a physical velocity or anything like that, but it is a rate or amplitude of change in some way. So I don't know. There
So-
might be another
so I
word
think- I
that
think
can
it's
apply
not
to
a
the quality.
It's
Right.
not a quality. It's a disposition. So under disposition, you have functions, and under functions, you have artifact functions.
Hmm.
Then you have motion artifact functions, and you have under motion artifact functions, you have speed. artifact functions. A speed artifact function is a motion artifact function that is realized in some process in which the bearer has some speed. So I think that's what it is. I think it's a function, but unfortunately,
Well,
ChatGPT
maybe.
does a really poor job with this. This is understanding qualities,
Yeah.
disposition sometimes, and so you have to sort of like you have to sort of poke at it a little bit when it comes to things that are trying to say their quality.
Right.
That's what I've noticed.
I would argue that it's probably not a speed artifact function, because a motion artifact function is where an entity changes position. So that's talking about like physical rate of motion. Whereas
Well, it's realized
read
in some
writes,
process in which the bearer has some speed. Right? So here, if we go up,
Right.
we say
but that means it has to conform to motion artifact function as well, right?
so motion artifact function is an artifact function that is realized in a process in which entity changes. Yeah, so you're probably right. So it probably isn't a motion artifact function. But
Yeah.
there's probably some other type of
Yeah, you
artifact
might be right.
function that it would fall under.
Because
Because it's a function of the artifact.
Yeah.
Now the question is it a quality of I don't know.
There may be a quality that would relate to it in some way, but yeah, I don't think this itself maybe is a quality as it's written here.
That is not.
So if we go under quality,
So
we have amounts, we have biological sex, bodily quality, closure, disability, ethnicity.
Where is stored in a non.
Quality's
Because
tough.
qualities are all static, essentially.
Yeah, qualities are information quantity entity with mass.
Yeah.
It seems like.
So like something like I don't know, maybe like a max speed or something. I don't know. Like if we're talking about like read write speed capability,
Yeah.
like what can it do in general?
And
I don't know. So yeah,
But the
I'm stuck on that. But
the capability is one thing. The capability would be that it can read write. That's the capability. The speed would be like a quality on the capability.
yeah,
Right. So firmware. Maybe as opposed to software.
quality, realistic. Okay.
But unfortunately, it's one of these things where
Well, because yeah, if you think about
quality is just not
I turn it back on.
it's just
The backup power.
maybe this is an area that
You would have to.
just needs to
Remove, not even.
flushed out. I don't know.
Yeah.
See if there's speed, lowercase, inside of
There is a very, very
um,
low power, very small.
so process profile. Looking everywhere that has speed in the definition.
Yeah.
You gotta take all.
Well,
Economical speed function specification. Okay, search speed function specification. What's this?
Okay, well, okay.
So search.
it's-
Okay, so under artifact function specification is one called search speed function specification. It's a nominal speed function specification, which describes the speed of some up. No, that's a watercraft thing, so that doesn't count. Yeah, this is hard.
yeah.
Nominal speed artifact, you know, like you said, that has to move over space and time.
Well, let's move through the rest at least, and then I think we can jump back to the sticking points. Okay, so security level indicates the robustness of encryption standards. I guess that could be a quality. Like there's also like there's some information involved there in terms of like, you know, if we're saying like level 1 versus level 2, but like level in terms of like the capacity that or what is afforded by it being at a certain level, I think is more important. So maybe that's kind of a weird label, but
So we built a class for this that falls under ordinal measurement information content entity. And I think it's a good place to go with that, because an ordinal measurement information content entity that's in the information entity ontology. It's a measurement information continuity that consists of a symbol that places an entity in some rank order. So my question is this what this is doing?
CCO,
Well,
there's
so,
this definition of
I don't know.
Is that we thought.
If you-
I don't know.
so this,
You can search it up.
Because
I would
that's
I would
what
consider it more in
it's-
terms of like a like
you can do this.
water level. Like it's just it's almost like a physical thing that you can say other things about, I guess.
Yeah.
Not
But
maybe not
ordinal-
like a
Yeah, ordinal measurements. Ordinal measurements are things that like example of usage is like the sentence, the coldest day in history in Chicago, Illinois is January 20th, 1985. It's an ordinal measurement. It's not a precise measurement, but it's a measurement that is still used to justify. Like, so you could say like, this is the hottest day I've ever experienced. And so my hottest day I've experienced might be 108 degrees. Yours might be 96 degrees, right? That's an ordinal measurement information content entity. So I'm wondering if this is an ordinal measurement information content entity. I'm not sure.
If I'm not-
yeah, it could be.
Because if it's making up its own parameter, right? I don't know. That'd be
I think the suggestion was, if I'm tracking there, there was pointing to in both directions, both the quality and the information side, which is natural because these things are ambiguous, right?
Right.
Like we could be talking, like the label is misleading.
Yes.
So, and the description here indicates robustness of encryption standards. That
Right.
indicating suggests to me
Yeah.
that it's more on the information he said.
I was thinking it's got to be something like an ordinal measurement then, John,
Mhm.
because it's not pointing to a definitive thing. It's
Like it's not like rank. It's not. There's not like a ranking, right?
yeah, like
Well,
or even with a ranking is kind of a garbage ranking. Like it's sort of like saying like, oh, there's 3 different ski boot manufacturers and they say that extra stiff is this, but like extra stiff in each boot, like they're totally different things. It's just
Right.
some measurement they make up.
Yeah, that makes
Okay.
sense.
So data transfer rate seems almost very similar to read write speed. I think read write rate is probably better as a quality than speed. So maybe there's there's some overlap there potentially.
That is not an overlap.
No.
No, that's actually 2 different things.
2 different things. Yeah.
Well, I know they are, but I mean, in like, if this makes more sense as a quality, then
All of the material.
this, I think, would be in similar terms a quality. It's just maybe this, like the speed word, I think is what I was getting stuck on.
I'm also getting stuck on the speed word because the data rate transfer rate is defined
Right.
as a
The
speed.
speed of data, yeah. So yeah. So whatever this is seems similar to this, even if it means they're both not qualities, or they both are.
It is worth
So
thinking about, even though we don't spend too much time, we probably shouldn't spend too much time on labeling. So
Sure.
it is worth thinking about rate language or speed language or velocity language,
Yeah.
Mhm,
often associated with information. And I
Yeah.
think
mhm.
rightly so. I mean, that's the natural place to place it.
And
But
it's
like how you describe what the measurements are about in what sort of language, because there's also a tendency to for folks to say, call velocity both a measurement and the thing measured. At least you use velocity in the label for both.
Yeah.
Right.
we were looking at CCO and it seems like this is a gap area, John. Now, I'm not sure if this is a gap area that's been addressed by the cyber ontology in the latest versions, but in the
No.
version I have, they don't have anything on it. So this is something where, because like what we were noticing with artifact functions for velocity or speed, they're
Mhm.
all based upon an object moving over a distance over time,
Mhm.
not really the speed rate on which a process is processing. So this might be a good area for somebody to do some work in and to add some contextualization to these ontologies because it's missing.
That's a great idea. I hope somebody incorporates this in their class and has sharp students building content in design. That would be awesome.
Somebody who really cares about cyber.
That's right. I'm
Who cares
slowly
about
been, like
cyber? What do you-
massaging you into caring about it. Like the first design pattern for the Passio paper. That's been part of the goal.
That's
information.
that's the hardest part with I think in policy development is like the whole like eating the elephant. Like you
Mhm.
Yeah,
off some, and sometimes I know Tim and I get to this and we're like, it's missing so much, but what do we really need to focus on and add to it?
Right.
Like what is superfluous right now? What is
Mhm.
what is necessary?
oh man,
right.
yeah.
Now, I know some of you, I know some of you were doing this anyway, this guidance that I'm about to direct you towards, but I will call your attention here. So the next phase of this three-phase exercise that we're engaging in today, as you review the list of entities you created and place them, if you have not, under their appropriate parent classes, and then draw some things. If you want to do this in Mermaid, you know I'm a fan. If you just want to draw it on paper, that's fine. I just want to see some diagrams. And then I want you to connect the entities that you have by appropriate relations using arrows in the graph. Now, I want to highlight again. So I suspect some of you who are doing that up at the top already. And if you were, you failed because that's not what I asked you to do. I asked you to create lists and talk about and justify the lists. And if you were doing something else, you shouldn't have been doing that. You know, modulo the folks online who had already who were working together last time. And so they get a pass, you in here do not. So but now since you are so inclined, do this. Let's see what we can.
Ah, see if I remember how to do Mermaid. Maybe you guys can talk me through it. So let's just start with some classes.
You could just Control Z back and edit what they already had there.
Say that again.
You Control Z and don't delete what you had originally and just
Oh,
modify
okay. Just modify it. Okay, yeah.
it. So that way you have the image to
Don't
work.
need that. Yeah. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We were talking about.
SSD. Do we want to do all of these or do we want to like pick a few from each category? What do you think?
Okay, I got it.
What was the I forget what the
Yeah. Give me credit where credit is
Bro,
due.
Some of them might be
review the list if you have not under there. Okay. Well, I guess we can do them all.
But we could do, I think the smartest thing to do at first would be, let's just figure out the buckets in CCO BFO we're gonna use to begin with, right?
Right.
Like, are we gonna have qualities? Are we gonna have dispositions? Are we gonna have material artifacts? So then we can move on from there.
Right. You know what's gonna be easier actually? Because I'm gonna be futzing with Mermaid a bunch if I do this. I'm gonna stop share and I'm gonna log into a diagramming site that I use for work.
Done.
Be right back.
Now, yeah, as long as.
Diagramming site he uses for work. I might want,
What's that?
I might wanna know what you're using if it's good.
I use Lucidchart.
And Flash also has part of a process.
So let's do. I'm gonna do squares and circles, squares and diamonds.
You don't think so?
Diamonds would be instances. I don't know if we're even gonna have instances, so probably just squares.
Okay, sounds good.
Some.
So and then we can connect it to BFO classes after. Like, let's just get all the ones in here, and then we can connect them up as we need. Why is it dragging around? There we go.
But it does have material parts, so we can say.
Okay.
This immaterial entity.
Duplicate. Control D, Control T.
And whatever we want to.
Do a bunch of those.
Just
Encryption module.
Ask your question, if I wanted to connect data bus to material entity, it'd be like.
Controller chip.
Main memory tend to be tightly coupled.
Hardware connection or wired connection.
Data bus.
It's not done over a wire though, it's done over those.
RAM.
Why are you starting with data bus?
Key storage module. Okay. So there's those.
I felt like
Because
I
we were
just felt like
going
get the
on the
hard one
pattern.
out of the way.
No, because we were trying to accommodate.
And actually do
That list.
you guys while I'm just putting this stuff up, do you guys want to discuss the classes a bit?
Which is.
Or like the BFO mappings?
Sometimes when you're dealing with a challenging modeling task, it's a good idea to start with the hard.
Right. Speed.
It's also a good idea sometimes to start with the lower hanging fruit, because as you flesh out the picture, you know, the jigsaw puzzle starts becoming clear. So by the time you get to the harder thing, you just kind of fit in the harder entity. Of course, it's a matter of like problem solving emphasis. Like, it's not so, you shouldn't think of it as like an either or, you should think of it looking back and forth.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you spend a lot of time on the harder one, I feel like it sounds like you have, sounds like you.
Well, actually, I've made progress just now.
Okay.
So
Okay.
data encryption.
Literally a thing, 4 PCI Express bus card slots, which means there's a bus card with
Encryption.
material entity.
Okay. And then you went on.
Integration.
And then we can move on.
Something else, well, I'm not sure if you meant something.
I just felt like
Ah,
he didn't even have a very clear idea of what it was. So it just seemed weird to start out with something that we were confused about.
Yeah.
It's like, where could we go?
Okay.
And it's interesting, because there's one way, like you said, right, there's a way to start out with on the easier problem, and one way.
all right. Encrypted data.
So it's like NAND type is
That-
SSD, but
So by the way,
NAND flash.
Data bus.
is
I just call it a bus card.
bus.
Yeah. Okay.
Because the data, because it's not just about data.
I think a lot of these are just so unnecessary, maybe.
You're like,
User authentication data and error codes. Okay.
Encrypted data, encrypted keys, access logs, these are all information content entities.
These are, yes. Yeah. So this is all the information borne by the material entities or as listed here.
Data encryption. Okay.
Yeah, I
No,
just did the four categories. Yeah. So let's zoom out a little bit and get this thing out of the way. There we go. Okay. So now what? So we have an SSD. We know that like read write speed is gonna be involved there. I'm just gonna like pull from these and use what we need. And actually I'm gonna put a quick note here. So we got entities, well, material entities, qualities.
And it's very useful.
Yeah. So is,
Yeah,
that looks like something I
you didn't give me the credit.
Science
But
is
it's,
just propaganda.
it's crucial to go into the computer.
My, the whole thing.
Okay.
I think there is a difference.
So we can do however we connect these up. We can like just go like that. I can double click on this and type whatever the relation is that we want pretty easily. So feel free to jump in. Where should I go from here?
I'm super.
You want to put all the qualities of the material entity SSD, just put them all underneath there, like storage capacity and.
Okay. So, okay. And then just do like stack them almost.
Yeah.
Just like has quality. Yeah.
Not even it's even, but those are questions I think it's first, because
Now, if you're gonna create the, this is where I'm out of my league, but if you're gonna create the lines and stuff like that, if they're beneath them, is that gonna interfere with the?
I mean, yeah, if we were building this all out, I'd probably just blow it all up and make it so we can read everything. I just,
okay,
you
wouldn't stack them. You wouldn't stack them in that order because you probably everyone that's stacked under it is going to have its own subclass relationship straight to information, content entity or quality until we figure out where TCO we would bin them within quality or within information content entity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Processor that manages.
I mean, for now, like
NAND flash.
we can draw these arrows however we want and make them connect to the things we want them to. If we wanted to, I mean, just for visuals sake,
For
like
now, there's no
we can do
reason
it
to
like
do
this.
that.
Yeah.
That's the next level of specificity that you would do. Right now, we're just trying to bin things under general class concepts.
So, I mean, really, it's just SSD has these qualities, and then these are. Let's see, a bin. Actually, some of these. Whoops.
I don't know.
Some of these qualities don't just apply to the SSD, right? So we've got encryption module probably has a data transfer rate that applies to that.
Just don't know that.
And the data bus as well, right?
Yeah.
So like, let's see,
Yes.
write speed.
What is that watch looking at for?
I'm just gonna draw arrows. They may not be correct. We'll add them later. I'm just gonna like say like what relates to other things in general.
There's a tone.
And if you guys just feel free to pop out and say, hey, this goes to that, and I'll just throw it in there.
We just had a discussion.
RAM, I'm gonna
High threat sensitivity. Are we-
put on this side, so
I love
Anything about
as RAM. Has a controller chip. Connect these up in weird ways. Whoops. Yeah. Module. Key storage module.
Physical.
It's been sometimes called a memory.
And actually, let's do. I think I can change the type of line. I'll do that later.
No, yeah, or, okay.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
But it's just called controller and code pack, but I'll call it a NAND flash controller.
Well, we're talking about NAND.
A little clear.
It's always NAND.
We're talking about solid state. Solid state is a NAND.
Okay.
So something like, I don't know,
And this is like some kind of.
has like continuant part
The data flow.
for pretty much for like these three at least. I guess RAM doesn't make sense as a part.
Yeah, so
No.
that there's the thing, if it's a chip, right, which it is.
I don't think we have to do this yet. I think this is
No?
over. Yeah, this is sort of boiling the ocean here. I think
I mean, a little bit, yeah.
I think that we don't want to get ahead of our skis here. Tim, what do you think?
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah, it is the last step. So maybe, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Chip that has a process. This sounds
Tim, do you agree?
like-
Yeah, I mean, you keep it now. Don't get rid of it, right? I mean, we
Don't get
can
rid of it.
come back to
We can
edit
list
it. Let's
it
just,
Okay.
yeah, no reason to redo work.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the interest of starting, like getting the class, the BFO or CCO classes figured out for this.
What's it?
Actually, I'm gonna move this. Yeah, I'm gonna put all the parts of this up here.
That's what we were also a little ambiguous with on ChatGPT.
Because we want to call this, I don't know if we,
Often we.
I'm gonna use that for like
So that's something even.
BFO class, like a pill.
I've already.
Yeah.
So what is an SSD? Look at that.
It's called key storage.
I don't think SSD is in here, but I think a hard drive is.
SSD is.
Look up like
Our hard drive is.
Yeah, hard disk drive
Yeah,
is.
remember we didn't have solid state.
Right. So just digital storage device.
But it's very, very interesting to watch the machine do it.
It is actually, it's a little satisfying, it's like an ASMR thing.
Well, that's the thing is that there's a similar thing.
Yes.
So when you look at wire.
Then
It kind of is, yeah, because they all.
RAM, I don't know exists as that.
So so they have.
Where's RAM?
And the better,
Which are used to
the
protect
better the
sensitive data.
machines are.
Like a process.
tiny little things.
Computer memory. Oh no, it is digital storage device.
And then maybe quality of key storage.
Chips.
Okay, so I guess we could do
I got the casino.
I did mine.
So we.
that.
I would like.
Watch Chicken Little.
Controller chip. Don't even know where to start with that.
Leave me behind. Just. give me
Is that a thing?
That's going to be a part of something else, probably.
So we think. key storage-
The chip is going to be part of something else?
Maybe it's a part of or participates in. I don't know.
Chip sounds like an information processing artifact, maybe.
Process.
But I don't know if it actually falls under here. Processing unit,
Encryption, chip key storage, and the feature that protects.
buffer stack.
Which-
Ram's calling.
Oh, I'm in a meeting.
Yeah, yes, but I don't see.
Yeah.
I mean, I see why.
Okay.
So I guess I would call
We made
I don't know
sure.
there's another type of chip. Nope.
I think you're in the right territory with it, right?
Yeah, I would
Processing
say processing unit sounds about right.
Yeah, but if someone asks me, like,
Where did you
information is
see that?
encrypted on the solid
Can you
state
just tell me?
drive, why would I?
That encryption module. I know encryption, I think encryption is in here somewhere. Encryption algorithm, right? Encryption file.
Understand it, you don't understand it, then you're useless.
So I would guess if we're talking about a physical thing, I would guess it's probably some sort of processing unit as well.
Well, not much, just I mean, but
We'll say that for now. Key storage module. So
some people are really good at that.
You coded it or
Some
you
people are good
were
at
generating code from it?
the more, but again,
sure.
there's some people who are really good at that. The training and philosophy is really good at that. One of the trainings.
Yeah.
I
I guess
close enough, right?
yeah, to the same degree that RAM is, I guess it would be. So we're gonna throw this over here, and we're just gonna say you're that as well. Ah.
It sounds like it's necessary.
You should take it.
Okay. So I think that, oh, and data bus. Okay. So I'm gonna get rid of that for the time being.
I like doing.
Yeah, what's that?
I'm reading.
Data bus. Be bussin'.
Key space.
I was
Key space
curious
is what I'm
about,
reading from, not storage.
you said like.
That's an automobile. Data. I don't. Do any of these strike you guys as like different labels for what a data bus is, or is that?
No,
I don't know what a buffer.
We actually had to build data bus, not it.
Okay.
No.
Is there? Okay. So what is it? What is it in general?
Well, here, let me see.
Do you have a definition there?
Well, let me see where we put it.
How much was it?
I got maybe
Oliver.
Oliver Canada. No relation.
Yeah.
Did you see?
Data transfer rate. I'm gonna start putting these near each other.
I don't think we have data bus.
We built like a bus tree.
We have data buffer bit from Common Core.
Right. Which is fine. Yeah, we can do BFO CCO. I think that was in the dang it, where'd it go?
You're like, oh my god. Did you see?
Yeah, BFO, we could use CCO as well.
I did. You said it over this morning.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that.
Storage.
So
Oh, I've been opening this like 5 times. I don't need to do that.
Yes, ChatGPT what it thinks.
Yeah.
So it says a data bus as a communication system that transfers data between components would best be categorized as a type of object aggregate in BFO.
Data bus.
In Common Core, a data bus could be further specified as an information system component, given its function in the transfer of information across a system. So in practical terms, in BFO, it would fall under object aggregate due to its role in coordinating the flow of data among multiple entities.
This sounds incorrect to me.
Categorized as an information system component.
We do, we have.
I don't know if information system component exists. Let me see.
No, that sounds like a hallucination. But what it was saying about communication system is interesting.
Yeah, an object aggregate, I agree that that's correct.
Oh, you do? Okay.
So I mean, it seems like it could be an object aggregate. So let me go to
Computer
object
system.
aggregate and look and see what's under object aggregate.
I mean, we've got right here, we've got computer aggregate, computer system,
Yeah,
but like a data bus as like a component.
yeah.
Of,
It's not an aggregate of
yeah.
computers, though.
I mean, it's an aggregate of atoms. That's about all we can say about it in those terms, I think.
I mean, aggregate goes.
Because I think there's a computer component.
There's a central
Yeah,
processing unit.
here we go. Computer component, maybe? Oh, CPU,
Central processing unit. Let's see.
which is listed as a processing unit. Okay, so an information processing artifact.
The processing unit.
Memory chip then?
You have system. System is a material entity that consists of multiple components that are casually integrated.
So isn't a bus though, like some sort of like it's like a holding space, right?
No, it's not.
What is it?
No.
So
A communication.
I don't know what they're, hold on, he's
Hold
gonna.
on, they don't know. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. So interesting work, interesting work. Let me share my screen one more time. So here's what I would like you to do next. So we are going to shuffle up one more time. And now when we do that, we're going to start on the dogmatist academic skeptic exercise for the remainder of the class, although this time you will now have the target being what you've been working on.
Class.
So you will pick one of the design patterns that you've just been crafting, one of the diagrams, etc. And you will do the dogmatist academic skeptic exercise where somebody's defending, somebody's criticizing, and somebody's playing both sides. And for those online, I brought two of our in-person folks here who will help you in this respect. So you may be defending yourself against both of them, but they will be here to raise critical eyes on the design pattern that you've been working on. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Come on over. So you might want to share your screen and orient these two.
Okay.
Okay, and the rest?
Hi guys.
I'm just gonna do the lucid charts here. So squares are just classes for the thing we're modeling, and then we started with pills for the like CCO BFO classes that we were starting to do.
Okay.
And then these are all the things we hadn't categorized yet, or in the pattern, but these I think whoops.
Can
sorry.
you zoom in a little bit on?
Yeah.
Squares are
Here, I'll do this as well.
circles are the class.
Squares are instances, circles are classes, you said?
No. So sorry. Square is the like the classes of the thing we're modeling, like the actual material entities that we were looking at, and then these were just the BFO CZO classes. So just to distinguish visually, but they're all classes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, one thing I can say, which we did a bunch of searching on this, data bus. You're not
Yes.
necessarily wrong to say that the SSD has a data bus, but data bus is a term that covers all of the like hardware and the software and the protocols that govern the transfer of information. So the way to make a little more concrete, if you wanted a material entity, is to say bus chip, because there's an actual PCI slot for chips that are data bus chips.
Is there data bus salsa too?
So think of the data bus as like the pipe.
The what?
The pipe, right?
Oh, the
If you
pipe.
got
Okay, the tube.
data
Yeah.
flowing through a pipe. So the bigger the data bus, the more that it can handle.
And the chip part of the data bus is like the physical part of a pipe, but it also includes like protocols and algorithms that help to facilitate the transfer and stuff like that. So,
Right. So that's where like Joe or whoever was saying data bus being almost like an object aggregate, kind of like that would make sense.
Except
But
that
the-
I'm
but
not
the
sure
part
if
that's
object
the-
aggregate needs to have all material entities. Data bus as a term is used to describe a whole bunch of things that aren't material entities as well.
Yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of
data transmission processes.
You could even make a case that
I mean,
it includes software too, like as a thing.
an information content entity as well. Like data bus is a lot of different. I almost think we want to stay away from data bus because I think data bus in its own self is like its own model.
Yeah, and that's why I recommended that.
Yeah,
if you
potentially.
did it as a part, I would just specify that it's the chip itself, because the chip is the thing that needs to be slotted in. So a data bus chip is an actual material part, period.
Can you say the same about RAM? Like RAM should be a chip then too?
Well, RAM card, RAM chip, something like that, if you wanted to describe it that way. Yeah.
I mean, there are, Yeah, there are.
So one of the things we joked about in the other group was basically it's all chips. All the computers are all chips that have associated processes and other things that aren't material. But without the material chip part, there's no, like a motherboard is just a big ass chip that has a bunch of other little chips, and all of them have different processes associated.
Yeah, but
I'm gonna
then-
spell that out. Solid state.
So the data bus itself is just like, think of it like it's connecting the different chips, right? So
It's a chip that connects all the other chips and then has a bunch of processes associated with it that regulate how that manage the transfer of information.
Oh, these are all studies. I don't want to look at those. Okay.
So it's
But
a board
then-
with the chips, right?
that
Is
becomes
that it?
problematic later on.
Personally, I'd rather have it.
Say that again.
I said that would be problematic later on because if you have a motherboard as a chip, the motherboard can do encrypting and decrypting, and the motherboard has the data transfer embedded in it. So at the end of the day, you can't do separation of concern. I understand you guys are looking at it from both like the software side and the hardware side, but at the same time, something is driving it, and we have to show that link in our diagram.
Yeah. So whatever the necessary thing is for
Yes.
RAM to be able to be accessible and all that. Yeah. So the data bus chip being the material component of
well,
what's relevant in the data bus
I wouldn't
system.
call the data bus an actual chip because think of it like the RAM gets put into whatever device it is, like a motherboard, right?
Right.
What connects the RAM to the processing chip, or the CPU, is the data bus, right? So it's a physical construct in the machine. It's not actually a chip. I mean,
well, so if you and it may be that RAM is a type of data bus. Could be.
no, I wouldn't consider the RAM as a physical component that has a certain function to it. The data bus in a computer or like in a hard drive or something like that, it's what connects the different chips together. So think about if you had a computer and you had like, I don't know, a massive amount of RAM, but the data bus between the RAM and the processor was too small.
Right.
It doesn't matter that you have all that RAM there.
Right. You're going to be constricted by the capacity of the data bus or whatever, or the capabilities of the data bus.
Well, I'm like in a current.
Well, so let's look at something else that you have going on.
Okay. We're going to say data bus thing.
So they just specify as continuum part and as continuum part, but
I started doing that and then I realized we hadn't done the BFO stuff, so we went back and started putting the BFO classes in or CCO classes in, and so we just left that.
Okay.
But between these two, these are assumptions that these are physical things because I don't actually know. I didn't come up with the list. This was the ChatGPT generated list. So I was trying to defend what ChatGPT came up with. So assuming this is a physical thing like a chip or something, and assuming this is some physical thing.
okay.
And then that would have been kind of true of the rest of them as well, to whatever degree it made sense.
Okay. So then the last.
So you start from the SSD as independent continuant, or
Yeah, we didn't get to that one yet, but
because I was
it's a information medium artifact, a digital storage device. Yeah. Oh, I did do that. Yeah. So this is an information medium artifact in CCO.
okay, information medium artifact, okay.
What is wide security level, and where does that go?
So these were the qualities that were came up with. So read write speed was one of the other ones, I believe, and data transfer rate. So these 6 here were the qualities that list came up with. And so we had just started to I was just drawing arrows to what has what.
To go back to something that John brought up though, is a rate and is a speed a quality?
I mean, we didn't land on a clear answer on that because I think my thinking was a sort of process profile but not a like motion related speed, like more like a rate or an amplitude. But
Are amplitudes not motion?
no, not necessarily.
This,
Not in the sense that not in the sense that speed is defined in terms of motion, where it's the movement of a material entity from one position to a different position. That's not what's taking place here, as far as I understand it.
Unfortunately, in CCO, all the artifact functions about speed are about like physical objects moving over space and time. And this is really an area that is lacking. So we had a hard time with it, and then we deliberated over it, and then we decided to move on to other things.
Yeah.
Oh, I see.
Threw our hands in the air is what happened.
I think John came over and we were talking about this, and I was like, I think this is an area that CCO is lacking right now, and somebody could probably do a lot of work in it.
Oh, I see.
It's really, it's hard to know if it's a disposition or if it's a quality, because the work has really been done before us, and we didn't have enough time to really hash that out.
Yeah. I mean, it gave us 6 terms per category, so we're just like overloaded with options here.
So, well, but if you're just going to treat them as qualities, then what are they all assigned to?
So that's a good question. Like, I was just directly assigning read-write speed to this. Data transfer rate I was going to assign to the bus, but that could also be associated with, any other information processing artifact involved, right?
Yeah, so even the RAM,
So-
right? RAM has a data transfer rate. It also has read-write speed. And it also has a storage capacity.
Right. So I suppose this is where we would say, what would he say? That the what's it called? The competency question comes into play, where it's like, okay, but what storage capacity is actually important here? And it would probably be, well, actually, is storage capacity important at all? Is
For a hard drive? Yes.
No, for an encryption process.
I don't know enough about it to know whether that's
Can you
the case
answer
or
the
not.
question again?
Is a storage capacity actually important for a design pattern about an encryption process? I mean, it's important for the SSD, sure, but per the competency question, do we care how much storage is really, like, do we really care how much storage is on the SSD?
Like, does that change how the encryption process is executed, essentially? Yeah, okay.
It wouldn't affect how the encryption itself is handled, but if you're encrypting something that's lighter than your SSD storage, you're probably going to have a problem there. So we still have to worry about the size.
Okay.
So it depends on the information being encrypted and how much of it, all that.
So then it sounds like the storage capacity can just be assigned as a quality of the SSD, and you can skip the storage
Directly,
capacity, like the RAM or whatever, because it's not very important.
Like the only way the encryption process would fail is if it's, I don't know, processing too much information for the hard drive to handle. Yeah.
So can you scroll down again?
I would think
that's thing we have to worry about is that I do understand that when the RAM storage capacity is full, it does tether to the SSD, so we might want to also link that RAM to storage capacity. Sorry.
Yeah, that could be the case. Something like that. Why does it keep? I want it to automatically do the curvy ones. Why is it like curvy ones?
I mean, I think you're right. If it depends what competency question we're looking for. If we're talking about the encryption module, we start to get a little bit into the weeds or boiling the ocean when we start talking about the RAM or the storage capacity of the RAM. Yeah, it's going to affect things like speed or how much we can do. Same with the SSD, but it really doesn't impact the encryption.
Right.
And I think that's where, like, maybe, and I mean, I don't know
to the degree that we have encrypted data and authentication data that has to be stored. I think
I would disagree, because if you're encrypting a 1 TB of data, your RAM is definitely going to be affected because those data has to go through your RAM to be encrypted.
So along those lines, though, is that all just kind of summarized with the speed? It doesn't really matter how the speed was calculated or any of that, as long as it's there saying, hey, your speed, which would of course necessarily be affected by how much RAM storage you have, how
Yeah.
that correlates to the size of the data that's being encrypted. It's all just kind of glossed over with saying this is the speed, whatever the speed is there. So you're gonna have a speed measurement or a speed whatever, an information about the speed that will kind of
Yeah.
imply all of the other stuff. I don't know that that actually works, but
Can I hop in for just a second?
hold on 1 second.
I just want to make a general remark, and so just as a pro tip when creating diagrams. So when we are creating relationships between classes, like things like part of or things like, you know, bearer of and stuff like that, you should keep in mind that if you're having two classes between those sorts of relationships, the read of the arrow is all of the first thing have some of the second thing. Right? All of the first thing have some of the second thing. Sometimes that is the appropriate relationship to have, sometimes it's not. So you should read your ovals and the arrows connected to other ovals in that way, and then ask yourself, is it the case that all of these have some of those or not? I suspect in many cases you'll say no. The way we get around this is, by the way, if you talk about the instances, like specific instances, then you don't have that all sum rule that you have to pay attention to because you're just talking about two specific things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so it's called, incidentally, the all sum rule.
Yeah. Elucidating.
Mm-hmm.
So then realistically, so it's like.
Okay.
I think it would be check.
Okay, so for our purposes then,
Yeah. And also, probably an issue with the
So, I mean, we're talking about.
So,
Also.
kind of leaving
So, like-
that to the side because I'm not
Yeah,
sure how I'm not sure where to go with it. Processes, can you scroll down a little bit?
Yeah.
Are these processes, we have the encryption, the decryption, the generation, the management,
Mhm.
not the data transfer or the integrity check. Let's leave that to the side. Just those first four.
Okay.
Are they all part of the same thing?
What do
Like
you
the
mean?
encryption module? Are all those processes part of the encryption module? Or are they spread out over the different components?
Unknown. Because at this
Um,
point, I don't know how much of this was hallucinated by the large language model.
That's true.
I would say the data encryption and decryption can be in the encryption model. The generative key can't be because you need that to be outside of the process. So that way people don't just tether into it and have the key to be able to decrypt or encrypt the data. I'll be kept somewhere different.
So what would
So would this be part of like the key storage module?
Yes.
Key generation, key management, yeah.
And then are these, so what arrows are you putting between them?
Unclear.
Both of them will be linked to the key story module because depending on what you're doing, you're either generating or you already have the key, then the key management will be able to the key story will be able to pick that particular key up for you.
Right.
I guess I meant like, I actually don't know in BFO, the
Right.
processes. What's the link between material and the process that it
In terms of them existing already, they don't exist in CCO, I believe.
No, that's not what I mean.
Oh,
Just
okay.
as a general statement, BFO, you
Gotcha,
have a class, you have a process that is it participates in? Is that the relation between key storage like a material entity and the process?
You're talking about the object property assertion?
I actually don't know. That's why I'm
correct.
asking. I have no idea.
The object property
No, I mean,
assertion.
that would be the object property assertion.
Yes. So participates in or
Realizes.
prescribes or
Realize-
whatever, yeah.
So what is that then for this key storage module?
So this being a material artifact, I believe, in
Mhm.
what we're talking about. So this would essentially just participate in, I think.
Maybe, I don't know. I don't think that's as important as trying to make sure that we have the classes and understanding there is a relationship, but then we can define that relationship later.
Okay, so we can just, there's an arrow to that, and there's an arrow to that.
What that object property assertion is less as important as understanding.
The way I was reading everything, it completely did.
I'm sorry, you cut out at the end. Is less important than what?
I think what's more important is to understand there is an object property assertion between two classes.
I would actually say there's process part possibly there, so I'll just throw that there.
Right, and so if we're making a model,
Yeah.
the first thing we want to do is just get all the classes that we need, and then the next thing is to say there is a relationship between these things. Then the third thing would be to dive down and figure out what the relationship is between those things.
Yeah, that's fine.
Right.
So the things then, I don't know if you'd want to do this, Ian, but I know you were using like, hey, the squares are for BFO and the other ones are for CCO. Would you want to change that to like different classes, occurrence and
I mean,
So if you have a problem with key storage being.
what do you mean?
because right now, if I look at encryption module, data decryption, and data encryption, I personally, of course, can infer that the module might be a material entity and the data encryption might not be, but an easy change for sending this data would just be to change the shapes so that you have a little key. What would you put in the legend is what I'm
I wouldn't, they would all be yellow because they would all be like classes.
Squares. At the end of the day, they're all going to be squares.
Yeah, they're all going to be the same. Like even this, honestly, I should just do, oops. Like if I change this to a different shape or the square, then it should be that. But I just differentiate it just instead of, I could have just done
Well, I mean,
this and then they'd all be the same shape, right? So I'll just do that real quick, just so we're not confused here. None of these are instances at this point. They're all
you really
just
should
classes.
look at the difference between what classes and instances are. I think adding any more complexity, because I mean, shit, you have 27 different classes. Whatever it is.
So wait, I thought there was a way to change this.
You want to make 34 different shapes, that's going to get really weird.
To pull out these frames from this document.
Action. I don't know how to change the shape of that. Oh well.
Yeah.
Don't care. Pretend that's a square. Pretend that's a square. Anyway. Okay.
What kind of document?
So.
So I suppose if you're focusing on the classes, the only other thing with the relations is all the there's the two processes.
Like what's connected to what and what's relevant, really.
And so then
we're
for
trying to
the
define.
information.
Yes.
I can read this.
So like encrypted data is like, possibly an output of the encrypted process or data encryption process, right? Something like that. Encrypted keys probably have some relation here and there.
And
or maybe to the data. Yeah, maybe.
Oh, well, actually, I mean, you could do it to the encryption and the decryption because obviously the keys are used in both. Why they're keys.
Sure. Yeah, so we can do stuff like that. Encryption metadata. I'm just going to leave metadata. We'll just work with encrypted data.
Can you go back up?
Yeah.
Can you take that? So the encryption keys. Sorry, can you just put the key storage and move that to encryption, because then that will manage the keys, and then the data encryption and the key storage would do the would be where the encryption keys is in between.
Oh, put this up here.
That line from where you have it in the generation keys, put it in the model. Just one from the keys, the key generation.
Oh, from key generation.
Yes, put it in the key storage model, because then the key storage will know if you're generating a key or you're just accessing the key. With the way you have it right now, you will always generate a key when you're trying to either decrypt or encrypt something.
Oh, I see. So what you're saying is the key generation is not, sometimes you're not generating a new key. It's already there.
Yes.
So it's not, the key storage model does not always lead to key generation. Sometimes there's, which is what he's trying to say, is right now it leads straight to key generation. There's no other option.
I mean, I think it feels like it would allow for the scenario where that is the case without asserting that it has to be the case. It's just showing what the relationship would be between the key storage module and the generation process. Or am I misunderstanding what you're talking about?
I think what he's saying is the encryption keys should be connected to the key storage module.
Like that? Is that what we're talking about?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
And get rid of the other one.
Then
Getting rid of this one.
The other arrow, no, not that arrow, the arrow between encryption keys and key generation.
Except.
Oh, okay.
Now, there you go.
Gotcha. Yep. Okay.
And then I think you do need one from encryption keys to data decryption.
To data decryption?
I didn't want to use it. I was actually for the reason I'm having one of those.
Okay, something like that.
Similarly, you need a line from encrypted data to data decryption, right?
Yeah, you need that too.
From encrypted data to data decryption? Oh,
No,
decryption.
Encrypted
Yeah.
data to data decryption.
Yes.
Woo. So many arrows. Love it. All right, cool.
Oh, yeah, that doesn't.
Mostly they just need to move quickly.
Like it all internalized.
Install software.
No, I have dinner.
Yeah. We want to make a connection, it seems like it's more abstract, it just.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
It's just aesthetics for me at this point.
Okay.
Okay.
So this data bus thing.
Yeah. Right.
Does it connect to anything else?
Whatever the data bus is, yeah. So I think we'll be dealing with a data transfer rate there. We'll be dealing with the data transfer process, but that will also connect to other stuff. So
ideally, like the data bus would be between the SSD and the RAM
As an inset of your.
and the encryption chip, right? But I'm not saying we should move anything because I think
right.
it's way too complicated, right?
It is. No, yeah, this is we've been up way too much.
Okay, time's up. I'm good.